Welcome to season 2 of No Shelf Control, the podcast with books, booze, and banter, hosted by authors for readers, because let's face it, we're all bookworms at heart.
This season, we're chatting about book-to-screen adaptations and trending BookTok books. I'm Lindsey Sparks.
And I'm Lindsey Pogue. Grab a cocktail, kick back, and enjoy the show.
Oh my gosh, I'm so predictable.
I know, I was like trying to read it slowly. Say it slowly.
It's like the last tab. I have everything else ready, but
what else is funny too is how many times have we read that and I still don't have any of it memorized whatsoever.
None at all.
Anyways, all right, yeah, sorry. Hi everyone.
Hi. Welcome to season 2, episode 18 of the No Shelf Control show. I guess it's not just a podcast. For this book talk inspired episode, we read Gild by Raven Kennedy, which is all over BookTok, Bookstagram. There's tons of fan art. I really wanted to read this one personally because I was so confused by some of the fan art. I was like, what is going on with these ribbons?
Oh, okay.
So I am glad to have that clarified. And I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But before we get into the book, tell me what you're drinking. It looks warm and cozy.
Yeah. I'm so tired. I was like, just go for the warmth. So anyways, I have tea tonight. And can I just tell you, I have so much tea in my house. It's ridiculous that hardly any of it is decaffeinated. It took me like the longest it took me to get ready for this was picking out my tea.
Finding a tea.
Yeah. So I decided on a lemon lavender mint.
That sounds delicious.
Anyways, yeah. And it's warm and cozy and hopefully it'll help me sleep tonight. How about you?
I don't have tea, but I should have made tea because I'm cold and
oh yeah,
it would be nice to have my hands wrapped around it. But I was gonna say I have tons of like random tea, and one day I got sick of like it like exploding everywhere, you know, like there's just like bags of random stuff. Anyway, so I went through and I like organized it by caffeinated and decaffeinated. So then all of my decaf stuff was all in one spot.
That's really helpful.
That was helpful.
I hardly drink decaffeinated, so I was like, oh, I'm sure I have some somewhere.
I know. I just get on like little tea tears sometimes and I'm like, it's like habits form so easily, and all of a sudden I'm drinking tea every night and I don't know. I'm just drinking water.
Yeah.
I'm boring.
It's all right. I have water too. So we'll be twinsies.
I do now regret that I did not make tea.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop drinking it. Well, no I won't.
Don't.
I have extra in my tiny little teapot. I wish I could share it with you.
I love teapots. Anyway, what are you working on currently?
What am I working on? Today I launched for Patreon peeps that initial Darkest Winter draft that I keep talking about that I found. I read through it and I decided I'm doing this whole annotated series of works that I have that are probably never going to be made into books, but I know readers would be really interested to read them. So I'm going through and I'm reading, like it feels like reading it for the first time. So it's like really mortifying actually, and sometimes hilarious. And it's just kind of like this whirlwind of emotions. But anyway, I've been reading through them and then annotating them as I go and cleaning them up a little bit, but I'm not like like if there's not great character development, I'm not doing, I'm just like commenting on it. I'm not like actually, making it sparkle or anything. So anyway, that's been really fun. And so I launched the early version of the Darkest Winter today for Patreon peeps. So we'll see. It just went out right now, so we'll see how it goes for everybody tomorrow. And
I think that's really fun. I think one of the things I really love about my Patreon serials is that like they're minimally revised. Like I write them and then I read through them once and I add some like details and stuff like that. But it's like, it's fun to give people the like purest, rawest version of the story before it's been like really chewed on and thought about, and it's just like straight what vomited from your brain kind of.
Yeah.
And that just feels like exposed first off, because it's like, what if it's just like a bunch of weird stuff that came out of your brain? Because sometimes that's what happens with mine. But it's also like really interesting to be able to share that part of like your hidden inner secret self with other people that,
Yeah.
you know, I really like it.
So I did that today. I actually worked on that when I was in Costa Rica, but I got it all like it all planned out and that sort of thing. So that's fun and that's off my plate. And I'm excited I think I'm going to do Rect next, which I haven't told anybody, but I guess I'm telling everybody who's listening.
Are you never going to release that?
I think I'm going to at some point, but for now I might as well. I haven't read it through it in like 5 years or whatever when I wrote it. So I might as well read through it and see like what do I want to do with it, you know? Yeah. Especially that's if I'm launching this romance pen name, I could still do like historical romance, or do I want to turn it into a post-apocalyptic adventure? Because I could totally do that too. Yeah. So anyways, I don't know. We'll see. I need to read through it. But yeah. And then what else am I doing? I have been working on all my Scarlet stuff. So I'll actually be talking to everybody more about that next time. And yeah, I feel like I'm just getting situated, as you know, and I'm sure everyone else knows. I have not been home for like 3 weeks. So
yeah,
just spent this yeah, I've been trying to get kind of grounded in life, not just work, but like life again. So that's kind of been what my week is. But I know you'll appreciate this because I know you're obviously very active on Discord. And I've always had Discord, and I know I've mentioned that before, but I've never really embraced it. And I have been doing that with my readers. And so I think you and I talked about this. I don't think it was on the podcast, but just in general, how it's, even when you were on Facebook, like Discord is just more immediate. It's you feel like more inspired to talk to readers, and it's easier. And, you know, so it's funny because, you know, leading up to coming in here to record and stuff, I was going back and forth with a reader who was posting like all these, she had just read Sea of Storms. And so she's like, oh my God, I need to know about the Queen. I have all these like theories and all this stuff. And she's like, wants to know about, she's like, how much she hates New London. And she has all these questions because I guess she didn't start with A City of Ruins. So I was like, oh, so yeah, you have some, you don't worry, you have more material to read. It'll answer some of your questions and stuff. But so we've just been going back and forth, and it's just fun. It's like this really gratifying, it's just so easy. Like posts and comments aren't getting hidden, or they're not getting moved, and they're not,
and it feels like it's like a really casual conversation.
Yeah.
And like casual, really but also intimate. It's like it's a chat. It's not like comments on a post. It's like you're chatting with them. And I've had some of the members of my Discord before been like, oh my God, it's really you. I'm talking to you. And I'm like, I'm just me.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking about that today. Because there's a lot of the readers on there. I don't actually know which readers they are because everyone has a handle.
I know.
So there is that. I'm like, who am I talking to right now? That's, you know, is it somebody that I talk to all the time on Facebook? Is it a reader that I haven't, you know, talked to a lot? Like, I don't know. It's just really kind of just a whole different experience that I'm really enjoying too. So
yeah.
How about you? What are you working on?
I am in the middle of revisions of Darkness Between the Stars, the second book in the Fateless trilogy. And I'm really loving it. I think I talked about this. I can't remember what I talked about a month ago because it was a month ago. But this revision process is a little different for me. This book has one main point of view, but then it has 2 other secondary point of views, and they each have 6 chapters. Whereas the main point of view has like 36 or something like that. But anyway, so I'm revising the main point of view, which I have already written all of her chapters. And then I'm also writing the secondary chapters, which I know I told you, but listeners don't know. And that's been really fun. One of the point of views is my favorite point of view to write, which is Nick. He's like my favorite character. So those are always really easy chapters to write because his voice
resonates so well with you.
Yeah, it really does. I feel like it's the same with Kat, like both of them. Like they're just like so, what is the word? Like irreverent? That it like fits my inner voice perfectly. Oh. So but also I revealed to my patrons today, this morning, I wrote her first chapter. So I am writing for this book a point of view that I've never written before, not even for like bonuses or anything, which is Aset, who is Nick's mom, and Haru's sister. She's a big character, but she's never had like her own story told, although we do know a lot of her story from other characters, and it's like kind of awful, the things that have happened to her. But it's been amazing. I got to slip into her head for the first time this morning, and it was so exciting. I am learning about myself since being a mother that I really love telling the mother characters like voices. It's like very therapeutic for me, for me and all of my anxieties. But being able to get into Aset's head, and she's Nick's mom. She had him as a teenager. And they're both like 4,000 or 5,000 years old. So their bond is extremely strong, and they've been like spent like pretty much their entire lives together. And so it's really interesting. Just like I was sobbing as I was writing this chapter, like just like ugly crying as I'm writing it, because it's like like,
I love that.
Yeah. I was like pausing, and I was talking on Discord to my assistant, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not ready for this." And then, yeah, it was just, I really enjoyed it. It was very therapeutic.
Good.
So it's a traumatic chapter, emotionally damaging, but it has a happy ending. The chapter, I mean, it's like, it seems like it's going to be terrible, but you get to really feel her inner turmoil, which is nice, because usually she's so like composed and poised and like just together. So that is what I'm working on right now. And it's been fun. It is. I mean, you know how it is well, I guess it's different for you because you usually change up your main characters from book to book, but it's like sometimes I just get a little bit bogged down with the same character voice.
Yeah, I get it.
For so long. So that's been refreshing to explore the story from other point of views. So,
well, and I think that's kind of how we were with Ending series too, right? It's like we wrote the same characters pretty much the whole time. Yeah. We had a couple extras in there, but then those were third person, so it was different. Yeah, so it's nice to change it up, and yeah, I get it.
It is. Yeah. And like true to form, of course, everybody is in first person, so I'm just like, I don't care. I know people get confused. Oh well.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't think I'm working on anything else other than my normal like Patreon stuff, but that's, if I talked about that every time, I'd be talking about it every time. So yeah. What are you reading right now?
Well, I read a lot actually on my trip. Nice. And the only thing that I'm going to mention, the only book that I think, I mean, there are some good ones, but the one that is really worth mentioning is have you ever heard of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue?
Like maybe it sounds kind of familiar.
It's a LGBT romance story, but it's like historical, so it's really fun, and it's not like super steamy romance or anything. It's more kind of YA, but it's about this young man who goes on tour, like before he becomes of age. He goes, around Europe and stuff, travels the continent and stuff, and he goes on all these adventures, and the characters are really well developed. They're all really lovable. The writing's really witty and just flows really well. And I'm sure this person must live like the way she writes British people, she's got to be like, she can't possibly be like American or something. She just does it far too well.
Very authentic.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, it was just really fun. It was just like a really fun adventure. And so it's free on Prime. So anybody who loves beautiful writing and witty characters, fun characters, adventure, that sort of thing, definitely check it out. Because it's a free read and it's really worth it. So
do you on the top of your head know the author's name?
Yeah. Her name is MacKenzie Lee. And I did not listen to it, but I did listen to the sample because I was just curious, and the narrator sounds really good. So,
All right.
and then his sister has a book that I want to read next. And it's called like The Lady's Guide to Pirates and Petticoats or something like
Oh,
that.
I think I've seen that on
Yeah.
Bookstagram a little bit.
This series has won a ton of awards. So
fun.
yeah, I think in this book, The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, was I think 2017 or whatever, but it's won a ton of awards. It's really good. So
That's fun.
anyway, yeah. So it's just a fun, heartwarming, cute love story. And yeah. So anyways, I recommend it. What about you?
I am still reading The Hollows by Kim Harrison. So I want to say I'm on White Witch Black Curse, or I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna look it up. It's got to be like book 7 or something.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if I said this last time or not, but I feel like I didn't. I skipped over I think book 4 or 5. I don't know. But they randomly switched up the narrator.
I remember you saying that.
Okay, yeah, because the narrator is Margaret Gavin for the entire series, except for one book that they randomly switched it up. And I didn't even give it a chance. I don't know if the narration was like decent if I hadn't been so used to Margaret Gavin's voice for Rachel and all the characters. So I'm not gonna like say that the narrator is bad or anything like that, but I do not understand why they would ever do that. Like, for one book. I mean,
and it's like a random one in the middle.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's like early on. It's either 4 or 5, and this is like a
But still.
17 book series, and all of the other books are narrated by Margaret Gavin. So
yeah, I wonder why they did that.
And they must have that audiobook must not have sold well, or they must have had like outrage because they immediately went back to her. But I know also that Kim Harrison throughout that series switched publishers a little bit. So I wonder if that was the problem. But it just, I don't think that there's very many audiobook listeners who are okay with it. Like you get really attached to the voices, you know? It's just weird. It's like they didn't understand that people care.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's one thing if your audiobook person is booked out for like a year or something and you're an indie and you're like, well, I can't wait a year. But if you're like a big publishing house, I feel like they would take priority.
Yeah.
So it probably isn't that. Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't know. At least get another really amazing narrator. Again, not saying that this person was not great, but I listened to the intro credits and I was like, that is not the right person. And then I immediately looked at the reviews and it was like all these bad reviews, like of people saying like, what, please go back to Margaret Gavin, like all this stuff. And I was like,
It kind of sucks for that narrator, huh? Because
yeah,
if
it
she's
does.
thrown into a bad situation, then
yeah,
she can't really win.
Yeah, because like by book 4 or 5, like these are very vivid characters. Margaret Gavin is great at giving characters their own voices and stuff. And it's like, I can't go then and listen to somebody else's version of that. It just isn't going to be the same character.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
anyway, so I skipped it and I am continuing on with that series. Of course, it's my comfort read. So I don't even need to like think about it while I'm listening. I can kind of zone out.
Nice. That's nice because I feel like I've been zoning out a lot lately. I'm like, ugh, wait, what did I miss?
I did have to re-listen to the end of Gild, the not the Midas chapter, but right at the very end of the Orange chapters. It was like the last minute.
I had to listen. The prophecy or the
no, not that. Right before that, like when Commander Rip, she's like, I know what you are. And he's like, I was just about to say the same thing or something like that. I kept like zoning out and I was like, what did she say? What did she say? Like, so I don't know why, but I had to listen to it like 3 times.
Well, it also makes you think that you missed something because then you never know.
It did. I think that was part of it. Like I zoned out for like 2 seconds and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, back to my comfort read where it doesn't matter. Okay. So anything else you want to chat about before we get into the book portion of the show?
We do have an announcement for our own books.
Oh. What is the announcement?
The Raven Queen comes out on February 7th, and we weren't sure if I had to put a note in the calendar to
if we're gonna have a
show
show before then.
Yeah. Or just because we weren't even sure if we actually ever really announced it or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we did, but anyway, so February 7th, Raven Queen comes out. So if you guys have read World After, then you know, well, guess you don't know what happens next, but I think you know who's going to be in it. So
it's the same main characters, if that helps.
Yeah. Fast forward 10 years.
Yeah.
And then we have, for those of you who are audiobook listeners, that is going to be in production in February. So you won't have to wait too long for that either. So
yeah, that'll be really exciting. And also we have been doing a big thing of like cover reveals. So if people want to check out our Instagrams, they can see those.
Yeah, lots of cool covers. So far, it looks like readers really, really like them.
I love them. I really love them. So like, it's a funny genre, and there weren't a lot of people writing in it when we started writing it. I'm not saying.
In fact, we didn't even know how to categorize it or
no.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, I guess I still call it like post-apocalyptic romance, but it really is like. I don't even know what it is still.
It's like it's almost like dystopian fantasy, or it has it does have fantastical elements because of the abilities. So it can also be considered science fiction, but the more it goes on, it could kind of be a little.
But it was, I think the thing that definitely made it really unique then was that it was female main characters, and it was targeted. We wrote it for an audience who likes to read and can really relate to the female main characters.
Right.
Which there was not a lot of out in post-apocalyptic at the time. And I remember we released it around the same time that Sarah Lyons Fleming released her first book.
Yeah.
And they really stood out as like unique but similar, even though they're nothing alike, but it was like the same audience.
There wasn't a lot. Yeah, it's because there wasn't a lot of options. So it was a very small niche right there. Yeah.
But I really feel like the covers, we finally have covers. The previous covers were really great, and they fit the post-apocalyptic genre very well. But they didn't show that like unique feminine quality that the stories have. And I feel like finally we have covers that show the desolate, harsh, like heartbreaking side of it, with these kind of like ravaged landscapes and like intense skies. And then we also have this really beautiful typography. We have this kind of like a ghostly symbol that's really important to the characters in the series. And I feel like finally we have covers that embody like the feeling of the series. Yeah, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like, personally.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I was thinking today how strange it is now, because now my covers, because I remember when I started doing the covers, we want them to be just like the ending series.
I know.
For
I was thinking about that.
I know. And so now we have different covers for the ending series, and I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is.
You're not going to go do like a ton more covers?
Well, if I didn't have 6 covers to do, I might consider it, but I'm not doing that right now. That's a project I'm not taking on. And I mean, I want this to be special for the ending series for a little while, because this is for the 10th anniversary and everything. So but definitely don't look as cohesive now, but it is what it is. I'm not worried
between the two series.
Yeah.
But it looks really nice and cohesive between the ending series and the ending legacy, at least with the font.
Yeah.
So I would say I would give like a big high five to the cover designers for pulling out, just like successfully figuring out a way to link the branding for a post-apocalyptic series and a fantasy romance series. Like, well done. High five.
Yeah.
Pulled it off.
It only took however many months.
Oh
of our
my
lives,
gosh. Yeah. Some of the covers were difficult for, I don't know why. I think maybe it was us. Maybe it was me. I don't know. But
it doesn't matter. It's done.
I'm
But
happy
it
with
was
how they ended up.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So
and it's a lot of covers too. It was like every
is.
month we had like to deal with doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
I was also doing covers for another series. It was just like a lot of covers. Yeah. My brain was spinning. So anyway, anything else?
No, we should move on.
Okay.
Let's do this.
I'm gonna read the description for Gild and probably make little comments as I read it. I haven't read it yet, so we'll see. First impression. Oh, I already have a comment. I haven't even started reading it. The Fae abandoned this world to us, and the ones with power rule. Don't let me forget Fae.
Okay.
Gold. Gold floors, gold walls, gold furniture, gold clothes. In High Bell, in the castle built into the frozen mountains, everything is made of gold. Even me. King Midas rescued me, dug me out of the slums, and placed me on a pedestal. I'm called his precious, his favored. I'm the woman he gold touched to show everyone that I belong to him, to show how powerful he is. He gave me protection, and I gave him my heart. And even though I don't leave the confines of the palace, I'm safe until war comes to the kingdom and a deal is struck. Suddenly, my trust is broken. My love is challenged, and I realize that everything I thought I knew about Midas might be wrong, because these bars I'm kept in, no matter how gilded, are still just a cage. But the monsters on the other side make me wish I had never left. The Myth of King Midas reimagined. This compelling adult fantasy series is as addictive as it is unexpected. With romance, intrigue, and danger, the gilded world of Aurea will grip you from the very first page. And then there's some trigger warnings. Please note, this book contains explicit content and darker elements, including mature language, violence, and non-consensual sex. I'm going to add in graphic detail. It is not intended for anyone under 18 years of age. This book is one of a series.
Can you read the Fae line again?
The Fae abandoned this world to us, and the ones with power rule. My comment about this is I spent like most of the book, I was like, oh, this is so great. There's no Fae. Like, I'm just like not, I don't dislike stories with Fae, but it's like, oh my gosh, there's like a glut in the market right now. The fantasy market. It's like all Fae, all pointy ears, all like super hot guys with pointy ears. Like, come on, people. Sorry if that's your thing. I'm not like judging you. I just like love to have a break from it sometimes when I find something new. And I was so excited, no Fae, and then all of a sudden, Fae. Right near the end. It's like, really? So.
Well, yeah. Okay. I'll come back to that when we get to questions too. We should probably say there's going to be spoilers.
Oh, yes. All the spoilers. There's a twist, and I'm going to spoil the crap out of it. So. And also, my predictions for the rest of the series will also be mildly spoilerish based on the fan art that I've seen.
Oh, okay.
So, what format did you read?
I listened to it.
So did I.
I don't know why that took me so long. I'm like, wait, what did I do? I listened to it.
And what did you think of the narration?
I didn't love it.
I also didn't love it. I listened to it at 1.25, I want to say, speed. I don't think I've ever listened to a book by this narrator before, and I think she's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. It's funny because I thought she does a really good, I think, character voices for the different characters who come and go, but the main character, like the way that she speaks, like her cadence and the way that she kind of leaves question marks at the end of things that shouldn't have question marks, and then it really screwed my head a lot. So
there were also a lot of, at least that I heard, unusual pronunciations of words or mispronunciations. And I was like, this is weird that nobody picked up on this during like the proofing of it. I mean, I don't know. So anyway, I was, really eager to hear what you thought about that.
It's funny because as I was listening, because I feel like I've been so picky with books lately, and I feel like Debbie Downer every time I get on here, and I like annoy everybody because everything that you like, I'm like, it's all right. And as I was like, I really wanted to like this book because I know there's a bunch of them, and I'm not saying I didn't, but like it was really, as I was listening to it, I was also, is it just me? Is Lindsey thinking these same things as she's listening? Am I being Debbie Downer again? Like, so at least I feel a little validated.
And I know we'll talk about this. We'll talk about whether we'll keep reading at the end. But yeah, I'm really curious. I'm excited for this conversation. There were a lot of things that frustrated me about this book. But I overall liked it. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I had read it with my eyes. And in speaking with some of my readers, everybody has said that book one is the weakest book. So, and that there's like a lot of people who have almost DNF'd book one, but then gone on and like binged the rest of the series and really loved it. So I'm like keeping that in mind as we go through our chat.
I know I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens next. But I wanted to say that, so Andrew Gibson did narration for 3 of my books. He did Unbroken.
Did he do the Midas chapter?
Yeah, so that was one of the things I was interested to see how he did it. And so I was like on chapter 15 or something, and I messaged him and I was like, why is your name on this? Like, where are your chapters? And he was like, that's book one. He had to think because he did all of them, I guess. He's like, oh yeah, I think that's it's only at the very end. And I was like, oh, okay, well, at least now I know. So I'm not just waiting,
Yeah.
But
okay, so what overall did you think of the book?
I thought there were some really cool things about it. I didn't think it was horrible. It's hard because there's so much buzz about it. I kind of wanted to like it more than I did, but I mean, like I said, I didn't hate it or anything, and I'm not writing off the rest of the series, but I didn't like love it. So
yeah.
How about you?
I'm really intrigued and would be curious because I know there's like a lot of figurative language in it that I noticed listening, and I don't notice figurative language as much when I'm listening to a book as I do like reading a book. So I'm really curious if that would have bugged me in reading it with my eyeballs.
Yeah, lots of analogies and
yeah. And also a lot of repeated words. Like in things that I know bug both of us in our own writing, and that we're like hound dogs for. And it's always like, you just said this 2 sentences ago. So I think that I would have been like, I would have changed that, but not in like a ridiculous way. It's just like common words. Like I remember there was one that was like down and down, down twice in the same sentence. And I was like, they could have removed one of those. And I think there was black twice in the same sentence again. And I was like, again. So just little nitpicky things. But overall, I think I enjoyed the story, and I think the narration made it drag for me a little bit. But there are some major, I don't know, frustration points with this book for me, which are, well, when we talk about things that we didn't like, we can talk about. But overall, I would say I enjoyed it. It felt fresh and unique, even though they threw in the Fae at the end. It still did feel fresh and unique. Like the powers are different from anything I've read. Like, I mean, we didn't get a lot of the powers. We just know there's the ability to like turn things into gold and to have ribbons coming out of your back. And then whatever rip is.
Yeah. So I think for me, one of the things that I really struggled with was there wasn't really any world building. Like, I feel like we were just dropped in this world. Like, I was trying to figure out, I didn't read the backs or the blurb, so I didn't even know that part about the Fae left us this world or whatever the hell
I didn't know
that first
either.
line was. So I'm sitting there going, but even then, like even knowing it, going into it, like there's still no explanation. Like how, not until the end, near the end of the story, do you even learn how certain people or why certain people even have these abilities.
Yeah.
Because it's
And
something
why
about
the
their
people with the
bloodline.
powers are the ones in the people with magic are the ones in power, and why that's so important.
There's just, I just feel like I felt like it was a big, I wouldn't say it's a plot hole because it's not, but it for me, like I needed, if only some people are gonna have superpowers or magic or whatever, I need to know why. I need it to be explained to me because otherwise I'm just left with a giant question mark through the whole thing, wondering, you know, it just seems like it's been forgotten. It was forgotten to,
And they were like, oh, let's put this in.
That's kind of how it felt. And I'm sure that wasn't the case, but as a reader, I felt like through the whole book, I was left wondering, and I was like, did I miss it? Did I miss a whole explanation about how all of this happened? Or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what did you like about the book? Did you have anything that you like, favorite things about the book?
I really liked the snow pirates a lot. I thought they were really fun. I thought the idea was really cool too. Like I could totally imagine them like coming out of the snow like covered in white. Like you see, like you think a trees or like I don't know, a mound is like moving or something, and then all of a sudden like a person comes out. I don't know. I thought that whole scene and that world outside of the palace and stuff was kind of cool. I actually wasn't expecting that. I guess again, I don't really know what I was expecting reading this, but I wasn't expecting her to go on like this sort of adventure and get out of the palace and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of a nice little refreshing.
That was refreshing. It was starting
to
drag in the palace.
Yeah, I agree. So I liked that, and I thought the power thing was cool. But again, not a lot of people had them, and I don't know. I feel like if you can touch something and it turns to gold, like how are you not taking over the world or what? Like how are you just how are you just the king, like the king of like what is it, kingdom 5 or 4 or whatever, fourth
6
kingdom,
they're 6
sixth, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so that gets into like the twist, which is that Midas is not the one who can turn stuff to gold. It's Oren, and that's not revealed until the end. I did not suspect that. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I started to suspect it as she was getting to it. And I was like, that was really well done.
I still don't really understand it though. Like how is she the one that turns everything to gold? Like
I think she's an unreliable narrator. So like she had us believing, however the word choice was that Raven Kennedy used, had us believing that because the rest of the kingdom believes that everybody believes that Midas has the gold power. And I do remember one part where if I had the actual book, I would go back and look at this. But I remember her talking about how her ribbons came out before she was gold touched. But she doesn't specifically say before Midas gold touched her. So I think that it was like her part of her powers developing, apparently, is the way that I understand it. So I'm assuming they're going to explain that a lot more as it goes on. But I thought that was both really cool that she's the one who has the power. I thought that made it make a lot more sense why Midas keeps her in a cage.
Yeah.
And I thought, because I was like, this is starting to get a little bit silly how this is like played out. Like, why is she so special? Because she has the power.
So is your guess that he has convinced her that he's the one that does it and she's totally...
No, I don't think that. But I think that he has her so like, I don't know, Stockholm syndrome or twisted up in her head that she is willing to do anything for him. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I guess that's why I'm just so confused, because if he could go and again, this is like you said, if she's an unreliable narrator, then I guess it makes sense that we would be confused, but that also just makes it seem like it doesn't make sense. But so if he can touch something and it turns to gold and she's in a cage, you know what I mean? Like the way they make it sound is like people see him do this. So if she's in a cage, there's no way that she's like they're somehow influencing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't think he does it at all. But it also makes it make sense why he would want her around always. So like when he goes to Kingdom 4 or 5 or whatever, he would want her with him. Like he would send for her eventually. He always needs her. Yeah, anyway, I thought that the twist there was really good. I was like, bravo, captive. I also really am intrigued by Commander Rip, and I have lots of predictions and theories about. I know he's the main love interest. I know that. Not Midas. Gag, thankfully.
Did you? I wasn't sure. I feel like the author set it up with essentially all the male characters. She had a special relationship with all of them, and so I was starting to get confused. I wasn't sure. I was like, is Sale something gonna happen with Sale? And then I was like, does she kind of have? Yeah. Well, no, seriously, because
I know
they got so close on a couple different occasions. Yeah. I'm sitting there going, I don't.
Oh no, and she's like all about Digby because he like saved her life,
and he asked to go on the not quest, but you know, whatever
adventure, the journey.
Yeah, the journey. And
yeah, no, she definitely has kind of a, you know, like a I'm so special kind of a vibe. Like all the men love her, except for that one guard who was like a total douche. I mean, there's a lot of like really douchey. Maybe this is just like a really misogynistic kingdom or something, but they're like super dickish towards the women, even though they're saddles, which is their word for like royal.
And can I just tell you that I don't know why that bothers me so much.
Saddles.
That's what they call them. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just call them like concubines or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
know. Yeah. And a lot of unsettling things about the world that was set up. But
what is your take on the queen like attacking her in her chamber?
So that's one of the things that I really didn't like about the book was the every woman hating Aaron thing.
That was on my list too.
I mean, I know that I fell victim to this a lot in my earlier stuff. I mean, it shows up in After the Ending. It shows up in Echo in Time. So the first 2 books in the first 2 series that I wrote or that we wrote, the like woman versus woman kind of unnecessary aggression. But this was like super intense. Like every single woman hates Aaron. And she's in a cage, like just because she's the favored of the king. But like, can they not see? Like, it seems really obvious to me that she's a prisoner. She knows she never leaves her cage. Like,
yeah.
And some of the male guards, like Sale and Digby, have picked up on this, like that she's a prisoner. You know, even if Aaron herself is like all twisted up in her own head and is trying to convince herself that there's something real between her and Midas, there's some of the male guards are able to see that she's a prisoner and it's not a good situation for her. But so why is every woman hating her? Because everybody wants Midas's attention? Like, I don't know. That feels very like icky to me.
Yeah. I definitely felt like there was a lot of aggression, female aggression. And I still Polly, all of them, all the saddles or whatever, but even the queen, I feel like that whole scene was for no real reason. Yeah. Unless it's going to come up later.
Well, I was assuming that the queen is the one who tipped off the pirates.
Oh.
That was my thought. Because she was like watching them leave when they left the castle. I will say, regarding the woman versus woman aggression, I did really love the development of Rissa's character. And she's the saddle. at the end who was like graphically raped, unnecessarily graphic, with Aaron in the room. But then they end up kind of like teaming up and working together to like solve the situation. And Rissa's the one who's kind of like warmed up slowly to Aaron. And I feel like their relationship is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Further
I
on
got
in
that
the
feeling
series
too. Yeah.
So, and also Digby. I love Digby.
Yeah, I wonder because he kind of disappeared, right? So
I know. So
hopefully...
I'm hopefully off page means not dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was pretty sad with Sale.
Yeah, that was bad. Felt bad for him.
So, are there any other things you loved or disliked?
No, I mean, I feel like we've kind of talked about him. I feel like the world was cool. I feel like it could have been if it was developed a little bit more for me, but you know, I like to develop worlds and stuff. So that's probably just my standards for myself. But I think it has a lot of potential. So I would be really interested to see what the rest of the series is like in that aspect too. Especially because it looks like we're going to different kingdoms and you know, so
yeah. And I don't know why, but for some reason, the way like the Kingdom 1 or First Kingdom, I can't remember if they're what they're called, but the way it was described, which again, I can't remember, but it made me think of like Hunger Games and the capital and the different districts and the way they each kind of have their own like thing, their own specialty or whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
So that did make me think of that. The other thing I didn't like, which I already talked about a little bit, but was just the vivid description of rape was not necessary. That don't feel like that was needed to be on the page. Like talking about the thrusting of the rape, like
yeah.
That was
it definitely was graphic for a lot of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And just you know, even just the way that people talk to each other and stuff was really derogatory. Yeah.
But towards women.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of I don't know. I guess I don't read a lot of really dark romance or fantasy. But I feel like even like some of the stuff, what was the one that we read, the Hooked one, which was supposed to be like really over the top, and I don't even think it was half as bad as this, as far as that goes.
Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was a little surprised.
Yeah, James and Hooked, he definitely still had like some respect for, I don't know, it's like women weren't considered people, basically, by any man.
Yeah.
I guess except for Sale and Digby, maybe. So, yeah. What did you think about Aaron's character?
I feel like she made a lot of silly decisions. So the part where Midas tells her, you know, behave and I'm gonna, you know, you're gonna spend the night with whatever his name is. And I mean, the whole time I knew that wasn't gonna happen. So it's like the fact that there was like how many chapters of her questioning him and talking, you know, about how, you know, I don't know. That was annoying to me. I don't know. I feel like that was like a silly thing.
Did you buy his like justification for telling her to do that? Like, I was never gonna have you go through with it, and like I did it for you. Like the whole like attack.
I don't think he would have had her go through with it, but I don't necessarily know that he did essentially went to war for her. So I don't know that I necessarily believe that. I don't think he would have let her go through with it because I do think that whatever his reasons, whether it's because she turns things to gold or because he really cares about her, or she's really his precious whatever. I do think that, you know, he wouldn't want to share her with anybody, but I don't buy that she's the reason he set this entire series into motion, you know?
Yeah. I will say another thing I liked about this is that Aaron is not like some like pristine, innocent, virginal character. That was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's this other part too, where she puts Midas on this pedestal, But it's funny because she always says like he sleeps with all these women and he has all these saddles, but he's the king, so that's the way it is. And I'm sitting there going, like, I understand that she's essentially a slave and a captive, but this kind of maybe goes back to her being an unreliable character, because she also is kind of delusional and thinking that like, well, he's king, so he's allowed to do all these things, and he is allowed to do them, but like she just assumes like they have such a history from before, and now she's in a cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but it sounds like from her references to before, which it's all very choppy, it seems like, but like she asked him to like protect her, and I don't know, it seems like she asked for one thing and it has since gotten way out of hand.
yeah, and I think because she references how she was so tired of being like tormented and taken advantage of and traded and all, like being in this horrible situation. So he said he would protect her, and she was so tired of being treated badly that she was willing to do whatever to feel safe. So yeah, I definitely think that whatever the agreement was in the beginning, or but still it's like they were actually together before, and they were going, like they came into their own together and developed their abilities together and all this stuff, and now she's in a cage. Like, just the whole thing is just very strange.
And it also like, you're like worked up to it, this part of their backstory, but like she mentions one time that they like had sex way before. Like I think it was like when he told her he was gonna court the princess or something like that. But I was like, she's still like 16 or something, and what is he, like 25? Like,
yeah,
this is gross.
I don't know if I ever really got a feel for their ages. I guess, did she say how long she's been in the cage?
10 years.
I'm sure she does. Okay.
And when he found her, she was like 13 or 15 or something like that. Like,
yeah,
young. So I'm assuming they'll get more into their backstory. I'm also assuming that Midas is intended to be like a piece of shit, because that's how he comes off as like an abuser.
I think that she's really kind of tiptoeing around his character. Like, there's these subtleties that by the end you're starting to get more and more and more like uncomfortable feelings about him, but he's definitely not. She does a really good job of making him not horrible like the rest of them, so he's almost somebody you would root for. Whereas, and I think that, like you're saying, is I think we're gonna see a lot more of what his character really is, and make him a very dislikable character.
I think that
it comes to light.
What she shares with us is also can be seen as a way for Oren to be lying to herself, even as she's like withholding information from the audience, which seems pretty clever for Raven Kennedy.
Yeah, no, that's true. So nobody else knew that Rip was Faye because of his, just because.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everyone.
I mean, he had the mask for a while, and she just knows because she has abilities.
I don't know. So then I'm like, does she know that she is? Like, is she like some secret Fae princess? Like, I mean, did you ever read Throne of Glass?
No.
So the main character is, for the first book or two or three, I don't know, but she's kind of an unreliable narrator in that she's hiding stuff from the reader, which is her true identity. And so this reminded me of that a little bit I mean, not in any way that's been revealed, but just in the way that like, that makes me suspect or wonder if it's something like that she does know a lot more about herself as well, and she's not telling us that either. So, which is going to be interesting, if that's the case. We already kind of talked about Midas, but it's just a gross situation.
I think that, like, if you take a step back and you look down at just like what you are presented with their relationship, I think it's intriguing at first, for sure. Like, I kept trying to figure out, oh, so they knew each other before, and now he wasn't even royalty, and now he is. So, because before he was just a nobody. And so, like, how I liked getting all the pieces and starting to put it all together. And I thought it was really interesting. Or at least it was a new, kind of a new take on just having some, I don't know, just kind of royal intrigue, court intrigue in general. I don't know. It just felt really different. You know, you're not born into it or whatever. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, it's like the more you get to know, the more you're like, oh, this isn't just interesting. It's like probably going to get really shady and
gross,
disturbing soon.
Yeah. And just the like my whole take on them, which is totally my opinion is, or my guessing, is that he found her when she was young. People wanted her because of what she could do or something. But he found her when she was young and he decided to capitalize on that. So he convinced her that he loved her, and now he's used her to become king.
Yeah. And we should probably say that, and I think it was the very first chapter, she says that she was in human trafficking or whatever. Like she was a victim of that.
Yeah. So she didn't have like a great life that he stole her from.
Yeah. He saved her.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I think he's just another, misogynistic villain, human trafficker, probably. I mean, what did you think of the ribbons?
I don't really get them. I'm like, I think it's kind of an interesting take, but I'm just also like, so she can wear them as clothes. She can use them as weapons.
And so that listeners understand, she has 24 ribbons. I want to say it's 24, 12 on each side of her spine. They're gold ribbons like the rest of her. She is gold. And they're prehensile, but they're not just prehensile, which is, she describes them as prehensile. So they're like a monkey with a prehensile tail. Like she can
wrap it around things. Yeah. She can use it to,
Yeah. It's like extra hands for her. They also seem to be sentient. Like they have a mind separate from hers. Like when she was knocked out in the carriage, they're like petting her.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So like she's unconscious, but her ribbons are not.
Oh, that is weird. I forgot about that.
So I have weird feelings about them.
Now I want to go see all the character art.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's like they like have like a tentacle-y feel to me. I don't know. Like I just don't know. So also regarding her ribbons, though, this really frustrated me was that like they seemed to be like she was selective about when she used them, or the author was purposely not using them when they could have been used. Conveniently, yeah. But there was one moment in particular that drove me insane. Like there was no reason why she wouldn't have used them, which was when the pirates attacked and the carriage was overturned and she woke up and the pirates attack her and sail, and it's just a few pirates attacking them and she does nothing. Her ribbons do nothing.
Well, and then you just said she woke up and they were like petting her. So we know they were there and like not like unusable.
Yeah. And I don't know but she does risk her own life later. She risks her own life to take down Sail's body when it's tied up against the mast and like fend off pirates and all kinds of stuff just to drop his body in the snow so they don't like desecrate it further. So she can use them then after the fact, but she can't use them earlier to like save their lives. That really annoyed me.
Was there a reason why she didn't use them when like during the whole rape scene and stuff too?
Oh, they were partially tied up and also like exhausted or something. I don't know.
I think that they were scenes when
because she did have some of them out.
Because there were some scenes when she specifically says they were holding or tied back her ribbons or something, but in that one I don't recall.
I think
there was nobody in the room.
But she had unknotted some of them at that point because she used one to make it look like she was tied up, and she used some of them to hoist the captain out the window.
So like, how come she waited so long?
Why? I mean, Why doesn't she just use them to like choke people or like I don't know. It just, like you said, convenient lack of use of them. It was that I found extremely frustrating. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't she use it? Like she could
technically
be killed.
Technically she could choke like 24 guys at once if she wanted to.
Yes, she could. So yeah, that frustrated me. Is there anything else, any other thoughts that you had about the series?
No, we swear it's not as bad as we're making it out to be, but
no, I'm gonna keep reading it just with my eyeballs, not with I'm not gonna read the audiobook. So I'm really intrigued and really interested to see where it goes. And I'm really hoping like the rape gets toned down.
I don't know if I'm going to keep reading it, but I'm not saying I won't, but I'll definitely, if you say it's really good or whatever, then I don't know. We'll see.
I think that the thing that is getting me to want to read it is we
Rip's
just
character.
met Commander Rip. Like,
yeah.
And he's like a very roguish, villainish, like kind of character. And I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Yeah.
And I say that he's roguish and villainish just like from Aron's perspective, but he hasn't done anything except for good stuff so far.
Yeah.
Like he's not raping anyone. Like he's essentially saving all of the saddles.
Every slave, even the horses.
Yes. And the soldiers. I mean, like I get that he's taking them to like rub it in Midas's face that he has them, but he especially wants Aron. So I'm like, does he know? But then he says he knows what she is when she says she knows what he is.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty intrigued about that. We'll see.
Yeah. Did you have any specific casting choices for anyone? My only one is Ben Barnes as Commander Rip, of course.
You crack me up.
I know.
I love it.
But that's a good one for him. The like villainous. I mean, maybe he's not as muscly, but for the villainous love interest.
Can I just tell you that at the airport,
you saw Ben Barnes?
No. But they were, I don't know if we were at a restaurant or what, but the TV was on and it was Prince Caspian in the sea or whatever. And I've actually never seen that one, but I knew he was Prince Caspian.
Young Ben Barnes.
And it was so trippy to see him with like long feathered hair, and oh my god, so young. It was awesome.
Little baby. That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I just had to tell you.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, verdict is
I enjoyed it. It was intriguing. A little bummed about the Fae. A lot of bummed about the rape.
Now, but the Fae is who's making you want to keep reading.
I know, and I don't think that it's been mentioned that he has pointy ears, so maybe it's like different. I think the thing that really wears me down about all the Fae and all the fantasy books is that they all seem the same. It's like, here's another fantasy book with Fae with pointy ears, and they're so beautiful and they're strong and like have, ethereal magic. And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess if you like Fae, that's why you like those stories, right? Yeah. It's like the werewolves.
Or vampires.
I mean, they're always gonna, or shifters. It's always the same.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm still getting used to reading fantasy with like elves and all the things. I really like the historical, like more historical elements to it. It feels like it can have magic or whatever, but it's still hard for me to wrap my mind around these like big worlds with all these characters, and I don't know, or not wrap my mind around, but I guess I don't get as invested, I don't know why, but I'm learning. I think this is definitely the second half of the book was pretty interesting to me. So
yeah, it definitely
it has kind of a different feel to it than the first half.
Yeah, it was nice once we got out of the castle or palace or whatever they live in. And once like it's like Arin started to like wake up. I really hated that she fell back into Midas's arms after all the stuff with King Folk and stuff like that. Like after Midas almost gave her to the like gross, yucky, horrible, horrible king.
Yeah.
Like against her wishes for a night. That then she like forgave him and like slept with him. And I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like finally, now that she's out of the castle, like maybe she's waking up. Although it was still annoying. Like she was like, I just want to see, like when she was captured by the pirates, she was saying like, I just want to see Midas again. Like, you know, I wish he'd come rescue me, or I don't know. She just has a very like damsel and hero complex in her mind about him. So I'm excited for her. I feel like she is set up from this book. She's set up to have a really amazing character transformation. So I hope that that happens. So I want to find out for sure.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think there's a couple things you mentioned that I hadn't really thought about. So it makes me more excited to see where the story goes for sure. So we'll see.
Cool. Okay, so thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to check out the show notes for this episode's links and book recommendations. And we will be back in a couple weeks to chat about our next adaptation, which is The School for Good and Evil by I apologize. Soman Shenani. Soman, I'm sorry for however I said your name. It looks really pretty, but my mouth just can't do it. If you're enjoying the show, we would love it if you left us a rating and or a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen that allows for reviews. Until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading, everyone.